Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We've done 6 matchups so far. We just have the Metro division to go. Voices are both hurting at this point, hence the long draws of water around here. But the final 2 are amongst us, and we're going to start here with the Washington Capitals and the Montreal Canadiens. The actual best goal scorer of all time, in Alex Ovechkin, gets his shot to go win another Stanley Cup and potentially ride off into the sunset. Let's pick some rosters first, and then we'll talk about that. Yeah.
All right. So let's see, Mika Koivu. That's on Doug Gilmore? No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Koivu. I don't know who you are. Do you really not have a tougher defenseman than this?
Apparently not.
We'll go. It's good. It's gonna be pure. Wait, I made this mistake last time. I'm wing on defense, and it was terrible. So yeah, Jose Theodore and Jeff Hackett.
I mean, you got to play Jose Theodore. Though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna. She's been kicking my ass this whole time. In case you haven't noticed.
I don't think I've lost yet.
You haven't. Not in the recorded ones. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a bloodbath.
It is. I'm not looking forward to this. And only the goalie.
Okay, well, this is a formality. So let's talk about the teams. We'll start with Washington being the winner of the Eastern Conference, winner of the Metropolitan Division. Obviously, all eyes have been on Alexander Ovechkin, who has 2 years left on his contract, including this one. So next year, it is widely believed that he is going to retire, or at least retire from the NHL.
Yes.
Probably go over to the KHL. Continue to, make a lot of money, make people's lives miserable, set more records. The man is set for life at this point. But he did the thing he broke through. He broke Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal record. Good for him. Now the question is, does the storybook ending happen? Do you give this man a Stanley Cup, and does he ride off into the sunset, ignoring the last year of his contract if so? So, immediate thoughts on the Washington Capitals even.
They're kind of deceptively deep. You never really think of them as that, but I think they've been a lot better. You have guys, of course, you have Ovechkin. You have, I'm blanking right now. I promise there's other ones.
Ovechkin and others.
Ovechkin and team. But you also have guys like Alexei Protas that has really come through this year. Pierre-Luc Dubois had a really great year. So again, I think they're just deceptively deep. Kind of underrated, under the radar guys that could put through a lot of scoring, and you don't have to have Ovechkin carry, which I think is the best position for him to be in at this stage of his career.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And nobody expected the Capitals to be here, right? They were, for all intents and purposes, a last-second addition to the playoffs last year, and a very swift first-round exit. So we had no reason to think that it was going to be anything but that the Capitals would have to rebuild if they were ever going to have sustained success again, and that would be after Ovechkin, and yet here they are. A lot of people think that the Capitals are punching above their weight class, and it's just a matter of time before the gas runs out. I don't know. I'm not convinced about that. I do think that they're for real in this case. But I do think they're going to take a step back in the playoffs. If for no other reason, then their goaltending situation is kind of a question mark right now. Is Logan Thompson going to come back and play? And if not, can Charlie Lindgren carry the load? What do you think about that? Would you just trust Charlie Lindgren with this team if he has to go deep into the playoffs?
I mean, what choice do you have? It's not like you can go out and get another goalie if Thompson doesn't play. So, I mean, on paper...
When I say if you trust your goalie, I mean, do you change your play style at all if it's Charlie Lindgren versus Logan Thompson?
I think you definitely have to play more defensive, I think.
Yes.
You can't be as just... Because sometimes the Caps are just ruthlessly aggressive, not to use, to use a wrestling term. But they are just sometimes just balls to the walls on offense.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, their defense is fine. It's just not something super notable. It's good enough, but...
Right.
You have guys like John Carlson still and stuff, but
It's hard to say that you've done enough when you score or when you win the entire conference, though. And I think therein lies kind of the outside influence that we get of like doing enough to win. They're doing enough to win, as if they are, oh, I don't know, their opponent, the Montreal Canadiens, who are getting into the playoffs. And we would easily say, yeah, they do enough to get the job done. But I wonder if that's reflective of your thoughts about their ability to go deep in these playoffs.
Yeah, the longevity is a big factor. The further you get into the playoffs, the more physical, the more grueling it's going to be. I think the biggest player that I worry about his contribution is a guy like Tom Wilson. He is more of a hockey player now.
It's true.
He is less of a boxer on skates.
Yes.
That went flying. Okay. But I think he's going to be one he's going to have to step up in the scoring department. He doesn't need to take the Matthew Tkachuk role. He needs to actually be the guy who's going to try to score and use his skill. That first line is going to be big, especially with Ryan. Is it Reinstrom?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. But also, again, it's kind of a thing where you're going to have to outscore your opponent. Like
that is how most hockey games go. You do have to outscore your opponent.
Yes, but you know what I mean. What I mean is you have to outscore your defense. Let me put that.
There you go.
You can't. You have to rely on your offense. You can't, because as we're about to talk about.
Yes, exactly. So let's move over and talk about Montreal then, a team that they were a flash in the pan a couple years ago when they made it to the Stanley Cup final and fell to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Everybody thought, okay, this is they got lucky along the way. They somehow got past Toronto. They're going to get wrecked by Winnipeg. They got past Winnipeg too. And that was just the story the whole time. And then they met the Lightning and that was it. Basically no noise from the Canadiens since then. Yet here they are with some incredibly promising young talent. A probable, I'm going to say, Calder winner. And oh my gosh, in Lane Hutson, sorry.
Yep.
Some absolutely ridiculous scoring as well from
Nick Suzuki, Paul Caulfield.
Yep. Blanked on the names for a second. Just throw you into the stands. And then you bring on a certain amount of physicality with guys like Albert Jacki, and you have a recipe for just a team that is playing with house money. Much like the Ottawa Senators, that they can make some noise because nobody expects them to be here. I don't even think they expect themselves to be here. So with that said, what do you think the odds are that they can get through a team that a lot of people are, as I said, kind of waiting for the time to run out in the Washington Capitals? So what odds would you give the Canadiens to actually win in the first round?
I think if I had to put in percentages, I think this is at the most a 60-40 matchup. Okay. I think this is a lot closer than some people might think. A lot of people just immediately go to like 1 versus 8 and just be like, no, this is going to be domination. I don't think so. I don't think there's any way a sweep happens.
Well, no, I don't think a sweep happens either. We've talked about it before. Sweeps are incredibly difficult to come across in these playoffs.
Absolutely.
I think what concerns me about the Canadiens more than anything is they are freaky. Their power play has been, to put it nicely, stinky poo-poo. It has been actually one of the worst, especially since the Four Nations face-off. I have no reason to think that it's getting any better at this point. But it's a team that plays to the level of its competition, which is a blessing and a curse. Look at them down the stretch. They needed to beat the Chicago Blackhawks to secure a playoff spot. And what do? They go and drop a game in the shootout to the Chicago Blackhawks, who have been out of contention for a very long time. They do the nice move. Wow.
Totally meant to do that.
You trace them throughout the season, and they did the exact same thing against the Nashville Predators, against the San Jose Sharks, against all teams that are just kind of there. Mm-hmm. Teams that play up or down to their competition, I tend to not have a lot of faith in. Because yes, you have the capability to beat the Giants, but why are you losing to teams that you have no business losing to? I said it earlier in, I think, the Minnesota Wild matchup that we talked about. There are no bad teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
There's not.
There are no bad teams. There are good teams, and there are contenders.
Yes.
Montreal's a good team.
Yes.
They are not a contender because they make boneheaded mistakes and they play down to competition in games where they should absolutely be winning. So for a team that is probably going to be here for a while and have a lot of success, I don't put a lot of faith in this core right now. I think more than anything, I want to see where the natural leadership steps up from. I want to see if they can be cohesive as a unit, and I want to see if they can get this special teams mess together and get something past the Washington defense. But I don't know. I think I am going with Stroud on this one and saying I don't have a ton of hope. But, would I be surprised if they do good things? No. And no, that wasn't a goal.
I was. I'd be swayed otherwise.
That's fine. You can go with the Saber Stars argument there again. You'd still be wrong.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Now, one more question for you before we go on to the end of this and talk about our predictions here.
Mhm.
Montreal is extremely young.
Yes.
Do you think that's going to play in a positive way? Because there's always something to be said about playoff experience.
Mhm.
Is there a benefit for youth in the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. You're playing with nothing held back. I'm reminded of the Bane quote from The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Returns or whatever. You fight like a young man, nothing held back. Like that's what the Montreal Canadiens are. They have nothing to lose. Nobody expects them to be here. Let the youth run wild. Let them be dumb teenagers and make dumb teenager mistakes. And when they come back next year, because they are going to come back next year, they're going to know what they can and cannot do in the playoffs to have success. That's where I fall on it. It's a benefit to them. It's going to bite them in the ass, but it is a benefit.
How did I know that you were going to find one excuse to use the Bane voice in these videos?
Because I do it constantly.
Yes, you do.
Anyway, pick your goalie and let's go.
Right. Oh, right.
So we'll move into the predictions. I feel like it's pretty easy to picture where both of us are going to land on this particular series, but I'll let you go ahead and have first crack at this again. What do you think the outcome is for these two teams?
Well, I think this is another one that has the potential for, I think I put this on number 2 for upset alert for me. I don't see how this isn't Capitals in 5 for me. Just because, again, Montreal is going to be a great team going forward, especially with Caulfield, Suzuki, Hudson. That is a core right there.
Caden Gooley and Ivan Demidov, who played in his first game, got a goal and an assist the other night.
I completely forgot about him. Yeah.
Yep.
And is fresh for the playoffs too.
Yep.
So
he's going to make some noise for sure. Not enough to really move the needle, but he's going to make some noise.
Absolutely.
And all of this will make my boss very happy because he is a big Montreal Canadiens fan. And we have some spirited discussions about hockey in general. But I think he was hoping that the Canadiens would jump up and take one of the spots in the Atlantic from somebody. Probably not Tampa, but somebody. Don't worry, you will get there. So you're picking...
Caps in 5.
I almost said Montreal in 5. That would have been very simple.
I would love to, honestly. I think Montreal's going to be a team that I'm going to be rooting for in a couple of years, probably.
Yeah, it's another team that really hasn't been good in our lifetime. We wanted Carey Price to win a cup.
If I had to pick one team that I wanted to break the Canada curse, the Habs are probably it. But yeah, just not yet.
I still do want Winnipeg. If I'm picking a Canadian team to do it, I want Winnipeg.
I think Winnipeg's the most deserved.
It'd be cool for Edmonton to do it too, because again, McDavid. But no, I feel like if there's a team that's going to do it this year, it will be Winnipeg. And we have the potential for an All-Canada Stanley Cup final this year.
We have potential for an All-Canada Final Four.
That's also true.
Could you imagine?
I feel like the nation of Canada would love that very much, but we'll see. I'm not convinced that that's going to happen. So you're taking Washington in 5. I'm also going to take Washington in 5. I just don't. Montreal will find a way to get a game, and I do think they match up surprisingly well with a team like Washington, but they're too much of a wagon right now. Ovechkin's going to put up another I don't know, 65 goals in the playoffs. And while I don't think he's going to win the cup this year, I mean, Russian machine doesn't break, right? And there's no reason to think that he's not going to absolutely carry them in the first round. So I'll join you in taking Washington in 5 this time round.
Okay, we had one agreement in the East.
Yeah, and we'll have one more to see if we. Oh, are you going to get a last second? No.
No.
Yeah, we'll have one more matchup to see if we differ anymore. But so far, the only disagreements we've had are in the Atlantic. So, okay. Well, we got one more video to make, and we're going to do it right this second. If you want to see any of the other ones that we have made so far, down in the description right there. Get another sip of water and power through the last one. See you then.